Shalom, my name is Mara Amy Muti, and I'm here to talk to you about Passover, or Pesach, as we say in Hebrew. Passover is the time of year that we celebrate the Jewish people's redemption from slavery out of Egypt. And we see that God, in the end of Exodus 2, it says that the people were crying out to God, and God heard their cry, and he begins to answer their cry with their deliverance. And you might be inclined to think that this is the beginning of the Exodus story. But if we take a step back and look at it in context, it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense on that basis, because prior to this point of their groaning, they had plenty of reasons to groan. I mean, we see in the beginning of our introduction to Moses that Pharaoh had thrown all the baby boys into a river. It feels like that would have been a time of groaning and crying out to God. So what is really going on here? I think the answer is in the story where Moses sees the Egyptian beating the Jewish man, and it says in the scripture there that Moses saw this and he looked around and he didn't see anyone. And so he defended the man and killed the Egyptian. But then it says later that he was found out, that people knew about it, which also doesn't make much sense. If he looked around and he didn't see anyone, then how did anybody know it was him? There's some commentary that says when he was looking around to see if he saw someone, he was actually not looking around to see if there was anybody around. He was looking around to see if there was any men of courage, anyone who would take a stand against the tyranny of the Egyptians. And he looked around and he didn't see anyone willing to take a stand. And that is why he acted, because there was no men of courage around. And this, I believe, is the difference between the groaning that would have happened when the babies were thrown in the river and the groaning that we see at the end of Exodus chapter 2. When Moses had stood up and displayed an act of courage in defending his brother, he had planted a seed of courage in the nation. It was a small seed. It took some years for the courage to dwell up, for people to rise up and say, enough is enough. We want our redemption. When that cry arose, redemption came. Are we willing to make the same cry today? I hope we are. Shabbat Shalom.